What we're looking at in this series is mobile video. Previously, we have looked at creating the studio recordings on your Mac and your Windows PC. Honestly, is a lot easier to create those videos on your mobile device. iOS devices is what I have. It seems like they're a little bit more suited toward the creation of mobile video and things. So you can do this from an iPad or an iPhone. We'll kind of get to some of the pros and cons of using which device. What you can do with these studio recordings, you can do product demos even. You can even do interviews. You know, you go to a conference or out in the world and you have phone with you. I mean, if you're like me, you're always carrying your phone, for better or for worse. So it's easy just to pull it out, do a quick interview, and then it's a lot easier to carry around, than a big professional camera. Now, obviously, you can't replace a professional camera with an iPhone, but for most people, an iPhone or an iPad, etc., will do whatever they need it to do, and usually more. As you approach this, you also want to keep in mind that the same rules apply to computer studio recording. You want to make sure that you have adequate lighting, and you want to make sure that you look good on camera, you have a good workspace. But the biggest thing to keep in mind whenever you are recording from a mobile device is you need to remember that it's not a standard video camera. It doesn't have, a 10-time optical zoom, and, it doesn't have the focal length, things like that. And those are kind of fancy words. What you need to know is with a point and shoot camera like an iPhone, you can do a little bit of cropping and post edit, but pretty much what you see on the video display itself is what you get. You can't zoom in via the display without it getting super blurry. And then your lighting is going to be a bigger issue because the way that the iPhone is built and the Android cameras are built is they're designed for portability. And so they don't have the type of lenses that work well with different sorts of lighting. You're going to need to make sure you're in a well-lit area. And one of the best things you can do is go and grab an LED lamp. You can go pick them up at Walmart or whatever else, and then take a piece of toilet paper or a white piece of paper, copy paper. What that does is it creates a diffuser, and then you can shine that lamp in your face to light up your face full on the same direction as the camera. And then audio is another big issue with the phone. It's great for shooting up close. Both the camera and the audio do great up close, but the further away you get, the more tinny the audio gets. You're probably going to want to grab a lapel mic or something like that to pick up the audio best from the phone. And all sorts of lapel mics out there, and I'll show you the lapel mic that I use, and then there's also an adapter for the iPhone that allows that mic to go in and record natively with the phone. So those are a couple of caveats that you're going to want to remember whenever you go in and you start using the iPhone for good video recording purposes. Again, it's not going to replace a full studio camera, but what we're doing here is not a full studio camera. So you just need to remember a few of those shortcomings with a mobile device and a mobile phone. The biggest two is lighting and audio. Your lighting can go all sorts of different ways. If you don't have enough light, you'll actually notice that the picture on the iPhone gets blurry and fuzzy. The reason it does that is because it's trying to compensate for the lack of light by opening up the lens more. Well, it's not a typical lens. Let's take a look at some basic requirements for mobile video. For an iPhone, I'm going to recommend a 4S or higher. An iPhone 5 is awesome if you have it because that'll actually record 1080p and 16:9. And an iPad 2 or higher. Again, the iPad 3, the new iPad, the iPad mini are all going to have better cameras than the iPad 2, but the iPad 2 will get the job done. You want to look for at least a 720p, which is considered HD on an Android device. A lot of the newer ones, the high-end newer ones, are going to have 1080p. Some of them even have 3D, which I would not recommend you use that. You're looking for at least a 720p. The other thing you're going to want to keep in mind is your computer sits on a desk, unless it's a laptop and it either sits in your lap or on your desk. Whenever it sits on a desk, it's completely stable. Whereas your phone, it's a lot smaller, it's a lot lighter, designed to be mobile. And so you cannot create a good mobile recording with just your hand. Even for a lot of us video guys, we have very steady hands. We can hold a video camera in one hand, or two, and we know how to stand. But even with mobile phones, it's very difficult to get a good recording if you're holding it in your hand. It just doesn't work. You want to grab a mount or figure out a way to create one. There's hundreds of thousands of of homemade mounts all over the web, YouTube. I have one that I use for my iPhone. It's actually a Glyph and a GorillaPod, and I'll kind of show you those here in just a second. For my iPad, it's a little bit bigger. I have not found a good mount. I've tried a whole bunch of them, but I have not found a good mount to mount it to my GorillaPod or even a regular tripod. So actually what I do is I use a built-in stand and mount it that way. There's a couple of them out there that work best, but really it doesn't matter. As long as something can hold your iPad up as it sits on your desk or whatever else, then that'll get the job done. I'm going to recommend that you record with your iPhone or your Android smaller device, as long as it has good quality video. The biggest reason for that is because it's something that you're always going to have with you. So if you're going to invest in it, I recommend you invest in that. It's also a lot smaller, and there are a lot more options out there. You can also use like a teleprompter software. You know, if you don't want to use Word, half the time what I'll do is I'll throw my stuff in Word. I'll make the font real big, and I'll put it in focus mode, which kind of blacks out everything except the words, and I'll use that as my prompter. Whenever I do longer videos, I use a teleprompter just because it kind of keeps everything together and keeps it all out of the way. For the iOS, you have two different options. You have Teleprompt Plus, which costs $14.99 in the iOS store. You can actually import text from Google Docs, or you can enter in your own text, like you can email it to yourself and copy and paste it. And actually you can control it with another iOS device. So you can record your video with your iPhone, start the prompter, control the prompter with that, and the prompter can actually be your iPad. And Prompterus is a little bit cheaper of an option. It's a $2 option, $1.99 in the Apple Store. And it really just has the basics. It has the features that you need and really nothing more. Scroll speed, play, pause, timer. It doesn't quite look as good as Teleprompt Plus. So what we're going to do in the next video, I'm going to walk you through a studio recording on the iOS devices. And I'll kind of show you the mounts that I use, the software that I use, all that kind of stuff. So I'll see you there.
If you liked this video, please click the like button below. If you'd like to know when we add more videos, please subscribe. And if you know anyone who needs a mobile app or a mobile website, please have them get in touch with us. We are Mobile Apps Colorado. We build mobile apps, mobile sites, websites, and marketing campaigns for all kinds of businesses all over the world. We look forward to being of service for you.